Hi, Taehyung Lovers all around the world. Welcome back to Taehyung Lovers Worldwide channel, the home of the deepest, most emotional, and most honest news about Kim Taehyung. But today, don't relax. Just 3 seconds. Don't scroll. Because what happened in February 2026 was not just viral content. It was a moment that made millions of people stop at the same time, without warning, without excessive promotion, without a grand stage. Just one image, one silent room, one man with a golden trumpet in his hand. And the world fell silent. There were no LED lights, no roaring stadium, only a cold gray floor, a black suit falling neatly along his frame, his head bowed, and his lips touching the mouthpiece with the carefulness of an artist who understands that the first note is a prayer for army all around the world. That man is Kim Taehyung. And that photo was not just a portrait. It was a statement. A silent declaration that hit harder than any concert. Within hours, the image spread across social media, trending in multiple countries, sparking discussions across languages. Some were speechless. Some were moved. Some were even upset because they never expected a global superstar to choose silence as his strongest language. Many immediately linked it to Chet Baker, the American jazz legend known for his bent silhouette and emotionally charged trumpet. But was this merely a resemblance? Or was there a much deeper message? And that is exactly where the mystery lies. Because Taehyung was not imitating. He was revealing his musical roots, something he has loved for a long time. As part of BTS, a group known for grand stages and global records, the choice to sit alone in a minimalist industrial space felt revolutionary. In a noisy era, he chose silence. In a fast era, he chose slowness. And that made the world wonder. So today we will break it all down. Facts, data, historical context, and the symbolic meanings that many may not have realized. Why did February 2026 feel different? Why could one image shake global perception? And is this a sign of a bigger artistic shift? Watch until the end, because the final detail will make you see that image in a completely different way. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell, so you don't miss every important moment about Taehyung. And most importantly, help it go viral. Because the world must always see the kindness, the depth, and the true artistic side of Kim Taehyung. Because February 2026 was not just another month on the global entertainment calendar. It was a moment when one image managed to stop millions of people around the world simultaneously. There was no grand stage. No LED spotlight, no roaring crowd, just a silent room, a cold gray floor, and a man sitting slightly hunched in a black suit that fell perfectly along the lines of his body. In his hand, a gleaming golden trumpet, his head bowed, his lips touching the mouthpiece with the caution of an artist who understands that the first note is not merely sound, but a prayer for army all over the world. That man is Kim Taehyung. And for millions of army, the photo that widely circulated across Twitter and Google recommendations worldwide in February 2026 was not just an artistic portrait. It felt like a statement, a silent aesthetic declaration that struck hard. Within hours, the image spread across platforms, triggering discussions in multiple languages and provoking unusual emotional reactions. Some were speechless, some were touched, some were even angry, not out of hatred, but because they were moved too deeply by something they never expected from a global superstar. Its visual resemblance to the American jazz legend immediately became a topic of conversation. The slightly hunched silhouette, the gaze immersed in the instrument, the unforced melancholic expression. In one black and white photo, the atmosphere even felt like an archive from the 1950s, as if time folded on itself and brought two generations together in the same language, jazz. The name quickly mentioned by the public was Chet Baker, the legendary musician born on December 23, 1929, in Yale, Oklahoma, who passed away on May 13, 1988, and became widely known for his intimate interpretation of My Funny Valentine. Baker was not merely a trumpet player. He was a symbol of beautiful fragility, cracked romanticism, and emotional honesty rarely found in a world full of pretense. However, it is important to emphasize the facts. Kim Taehyung has long shown an interest in the trumpet since his teenage years. The instrument was not a temporary accessory or visual prop to create sensation. Longtime fans know that he studied and played the trumpet with genuine seriousness. His interest in classic jazz has also been consistent for years. On various occasions, he has expressed his love for analog sound, for vintage music, for a more intimate and reflective atmosphere. References to Chet Baker were never new within his fan circle. Amid the euphoria, public confusion also emerged regarding a similar name. Chet Baker, the American jazz legend, is completely different from Chad Baker, an American actor, director, producer, and writer who has worked for more than 4 decades in film, television, and theater, known for projects such as Sarah's Oil, 2025, America, Imagine a World Without Her, 2014, and Gattaca, 1997. These 2 names have no historical or artistic connection. This clarification is important, especially in the digital era when information moves faster than verification. The space used appeared minimalist and industrial. A simple folding chair, sharp lighting without excessive romanticization, an almost sterile background. The contrast between the coldness of a room and the imagined warmth of the trumpet's sound created strong visual tension. He sat alone, but it did not feel lonely. There was an invisible dialogue between himself and the history of music he admired. Yet he was not imitating. He was not trying to become a reincarnation of Chet Baker. He was being himself, a modern artist who understands his musical roots. In a fast-paced and glittering global entertainment era, the decision to present himself in silence felt almost revolutionary. No complex choreography, no excessive visual effects. Just a man, a trumpet, and silence speaking louder than thousands of promotional words. Psychologically, this image triggered a collective longing for authenticity. It brought nostalgia for slower times, for art not chased by algorithms, for expressions born from depth rather than trend pressure. This contrast becomes even sharper when remembering that Taehyung is part of BTS, a group that over the past decade has broken global sales and streaming records and become a symbol of Korean pop cultural power on the world stage. From massive stadiums to international awards, their journey is synonymous with large-scale and global spotlight. So when one of its members chooses to sit quietly with a trumpet in a silent room, the message feels stronger than any promotional campaign. Public reactions in February 2026 showed that the visual power was not mere illusion. International entertainment media highlighted the quiet luxury, aesthetic radiating from the photo. Cultural observers called it an image shift, from pop idol to an artist figure with historical depth and mature musical sensibility. Discussions on social media evolved from comparing poses to dissecting the symbolic meaning behind the instrument choice and lighting. Yet the bigger question still lingers. Was this merely a personal tribute to a jazz legend he admires? Is it a signal of deeper musical exploration in the future? Or simply a reflective moment without commercial agenda? Verifiable facts show that his love for jazz is not something new or sudden. Old documentation, music references he shared, and his consistent aesthetic taste reveal a clear thread. The February 2026 photo is a continuation of that journey, not a sudden beginning. Ultimately, the power of this moment lies in its simplicity. An artist bowing before blowing the first note. That gesture is not weakness, but respect. In a world that often glorifies ego and noise, the choice to return to a classic instrument and silence feels like a radical statement. It reminds us that art does not always have to shout to be heard. And perhaps that is where its deepest resonance lies. Between breath and notes we have yet to hear, there is a continuity of artistic soul that transcends generations. A silent dialogue between an American jazz legend and a Korean global artist living in the digital era. February 2026 did not just leave behind a beautiful image. It left an echoing question. As the world grows louder, will silence become the strongest voice? Taehyung lovers all around the world, we have reached this point not just to discuss a photo, not just to discuss records, but to understand change. Because February 2026 was not only about numbers and achievements. It was about a shift in the map of global entertainment power. When the official report from GQ summarized the phenomenal achievements of BTS, the world saw data. But when one image of Kim Taehyung with his golden trumpet circulated, the world felt meaning. There was no grand stage, no LED spotlight, No roaring stadium. Just a silent room and a man bowing before blowing the first note, as if it were a prayer for army worldwide. And precisely in that silence, the impact felt louder than any concert. The public compared him to Chet Baker, dissected the aesthetics, debated the meaning. But one thing cannot be denied. February 2026 changed the way the world sees him, and he was not imitating anyone. He was not chasing sensation. He was showing his roots. And in a noisy era, choosing silence is radical. That is why this moment does not feel ordinary. This is not promotion. This is not a gimmick. This is a message. Now the question for you, is this the beginning of a new chapter? Is this a signal of deeper musical exploration? Or a statement that true power does not need to shout? Write your opinion in the comments, because this discussion is not over. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoy content like this, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss every important moment about Taehyung. And don't forget to help it go viral, so the world always sees the kindness, the depth, and the artistic side of Kim Taehyung. If you don't like it, feel free to skip. Taehyung Lovers channel never forces anyone. See you in the next discussion. And believe this, the story after February 2026 might be far more surprising than we imagine.